That's 3.
No, I did. That's 1 line. 2.
That's wrong.
But like I did it as like 1, 2, you know?
I think I gotta write the word triangle.
She cheated. She cheated.
Yeah.
I saw
She
her.
copied me. She was a cheater in school.
No, I got very good grades. Y'all are some.
The Indiana Fever are about to cut a 6'4" sharpshooter who is shooting 42% from 3. And if they actually go through with it, it might be remembered as the single dumbest roster decision in WNBA history. While every media outlet is busy chasing locker room gossip and manufactured drama, something genuinely catastrophic is quietly unfolding inside the Indiana Fever training facility. A player who perfectly solves the Fever's most dangerous structural problem is being pushed out the door. Not because she isn't good enough, not because she failed any test they put in front of her, but because of internal politics, accounting decisions, and a front office too proud to admit they got things wrong before camp even started. What's happening to Justine Pat right now is bigger than one roster spot. It's a window into exactly how this franchise makes decisions, and those decisions should terrify every single Fever fan watching this.
She is a very interesting player for Fever fans. Why? Because she shoots the shit out of the ball, and she is a giant. She is the tallest player on this team. She plays as a guard, and she shoots the shit out of the ball on a team who has an extreme height problem, especially at that guard position. The team
Before we even get to Justine Pat specifically, you need to understand what the most valuable and hardest to find player in professional basketball actually looks like right now. Look across the entire landscape of the sport. The NBA, the WNBA, top European leagues, every single championship caliber roster is built around the same foundational archetype, the elite 3 and D wing. A tall, highly athletic perimeter player who can defend multiple positions and consistently knock down shots from beyond the arc at an efficient clip. These players do not grow on trees. They are genuinely rare. And when franchises find them, they pay whatever it takes to keep them. Now look at the Indiana Fever's current roster construction with honest eyes. What do you see? A collection of undersized guards who operate primarily off the dribble and a group of traditional post players who live almost exclusively in the paint. There is almost no legitimate floor spacing at the wing position. No tall perimeter threat forcing defenses to respect the three-point line from the forward spots. That is not just a minor stylistic issue. It is a structural defect that directly limits what Caitlyn Clark can do every single night. Clark is the greatest offensive playmaker the sport has ever seen. But even she cannot consistently manufacture open driving lanes when defenders are free to crash the paint without any fear of getting burned from the perimeter. The Fever have a glaring hole, and they somehow found the perfect player to fill it. What they do next is where this story gets ugly.
defense. What we have been hearing is that she's looking really, really good defensively. Is that with her length, with everything, she is looking very solid defensively, and she is looking like somebody that could impact the game on that end of the floor. And this is a player who, isn't
Justine Pat is not a project. She is not a developmental gamble. She is a finished, physically dominant basketball weapon who arrived at training camp ready to play right now. Standing at a legitimate 6'4", she brings something the Indiana Fever simply do not have anywhere else on their roster. A towering frame combined with a fundamentally perfect jump shot that she proved at the highest level of college basketball. In her final season at Vanderbilt, competing in the brutally physical SEC, she shot 42% from three-point range. That is not a small sample size number on wide-open corner attempts. That is a high-volume, high-difficulty shooting performance against defenses that were specifically game planning to take her shot away. To put that number in context, 42% from three in the SEC against locked-in defensive schemes is historically elite. Translating that efficiency to the WNBA level is not a stretch. It is a reasonable expectation. And here is what makes her genuinely terrifying as a weapon next to Caitlyn Clark. She does not need significant separation to get her shot off. Her release point is so high that smaller guards simply cannot contest it cleanly. Forwards, who are big enough to potentially bother her release, cannot move their feet well enough to stay attached to her on the perimeter. She occupies a physical space that most defenders in this league are simply not equipped to handle. She is a cheat code, and the Fever are apparently planning to throw her away.
Like, you're probably losing Sophie Cunningham, and you don't have another 3. And you're not going to be able to afford another 3 in free agency, because the going rate for a competent 3 that can hit a 3 at a 40% rate is $1 million. Yes, Kennedy Burke, Bridget Carlton. The going rate for a 6'1" plus small.
Coming out of college, the easy, lazy criticism lobbed at Justine Pat was that she could not defend at the professional level. Critics looked at her size and assumed her lateral quickness would be exposed the moment she stepped on a WNBA floor. They assumed she would be a defensive liability that opposing coaches would immediately attack every possession. Those critics were wrong. Embarrassingly wrong. What credible beat reporters with actual access to Indiana Fever training camp scrimmages are describing paints a completely different picture. Pat is not just surviving defensively. She is actively dominating the defensive drills. She is using her massive 6'4" frame and disruptive wingspan to suffocate perimeter shooters before they can even get comfortable catching the ball. She is reading passing lanes and violently jumping into them in ways that are genuinely disrupting entire offensive possessions. She is not a defensive specialist, but she is proving she is a legitimate two-way player. And in a league where most teams are desperately searching for size that can actually move and contest on the perimeter, that combination is extraordinarily valuable. What this means for head coach Stephanie White is significant. Pat gives her a level of positionless lineup flexibility that simply does not exist anywhere else on the current Fever bench. She can guard smaller wings. She can switch onto bigger forwards. She can protect the paint in a pinch because of her length. The defensive liability narrative was always lazy. The reality inside that gym is something else entirely.
And three-point shooter. Katie Lou Samuelson's been 10 years in the league, and Katie Lou hasn't shot over... I want to show you guys Katie Lou Samuelson's shooting percentages. She is in the league because she is 6'4" and can shoot. This is a player that's in the league because she's 6'4" and can shoot. Katie Lou Samuelson, for her career, has not had a season where she has shot above 35% from 3.
Here is where the financial picture gets genuinely infuriating. To truly understand how badly the Fever are about to mishandle the situation, you need to look at what it actually costs to find this type of player on the open market. Elite 3 and D wings at meaningful size are the most expensive commodity in professional basketball right now. If the Indiana Fever were to go into free agency searching for a 6'1" small forward capable of shooting 40% from 3, they would be looking at contracts approaching or exceeding $1 million under the new CBA economy. Players like Kennedy Burke and Bridget Carlton command that kind of money precisely because that combination of size and shooting efficiency is so brutally rare. Justine Pat is taller than both of them. She shoots more efficiently than both of them did at comparable stages of their careers. She is proving she can defend. And she is currently sitting on a minimum-level developmental contract that costs the Fever virtually nothing against the salary cap. The value proposition here is so obvious, it almost feels insulting to have to spell it out. You have a 6'4" hyper-efficient shooter who can defend, available at essentially zero cost, performing well in camp. Every single rational basketball decision points to the same conclusion. You keep her. You build around her. You figure out how to make the cap math work. But rational basketball decisions require a front office willing to make them. And that is exactly where this story falls apart.
They won't even give her a chance of trying out for the main roster, but she apparently looks passable on defense, and I'm sorry, KK Timpson's not a passable basketball player. And she's guaranteed a spot. And she's apparently not even going to be able to fight for a spot in the team. It doesn't sound good from the Fever that they went into training camp without.
To understand why the Fever might actually go through with cutting Pat despite everything she has shown in camp, you have to look honestly at the financial straitjacket this front office built for themselves. The new CBA bumped the team's salary cap to approximately $7 million. That sounds like a meaningful number until you start mapping out the guaranteed money already locked into this roster. Caitlyn Clark's rookie deal got a significant bump. Aaliyah Boston is on a fully guaranteed $6.3 million extension. Kelsey Mitchell sits on a $1.4 million supermax. Those three names alone consume a suffocating portion of the available cap space before anyone else gets paid. Layer in Sophie Cunningham at $665,000. Lexi Hull's extension, Tayasha Harris's signing, Monique Billings, Maisha Hines-Allen, Dearest Dantas, and Raven Johnson on a guaranteed first-round contract. That is 10 roster spots with essentially immovable financial commitments. Add Michaela Timpson protected by her rookie deal, and you are at 11 locked spots before a single competitive decision gets made. That leaves one remaining roster spot. One. And it is theoretically being contested by Justine Pat, Jessica Timpson, Megan McConnell, and Kayana Taylor. Because Pat is a second-round rookie on a non-guaranteed deal, cutting her is clean and simple from an accounting standpoint. No complications, no cap penalties. The accountants love it. The basketball staff should be horrified by it. The question is, which group is actually running this franchise? Nothing exposes the dysfunction of this front office decision quite like the KK Timpson situation. And once you understand what is actually happening here, it is very difficult to look at this roster construction with any charitable interpretation. The Fever drafted KK Timpson. They spent real draft capital on her and attached their organizational credibility to that selection. The problem is that Timpson subsequently could not crack the rotation for an overseas team in Prague that was getting blown out on a regular basis. She is widely described by people who have watched her play as genuinely unplayable at a professional level right now. Yet according to reports leaking out of the facility, she is apparently guaranteed a roster spot. A player who could not perform in a struggling European league is mathematically secure, while an elite 6'4" sharpshooter who is dominating scrimmages fights for her professional life. The reason is simple and ugly. Cutting Timpson means admitting the draft pick was a mistake. Keeping Pat means admitting the pre-camp roster evaluation was wrong. This front office would apparently rather field an inferior product on the floor than publicly acknowledge an error in judgment. And the most infuriating detail buried in the reporting is that credible sources suggest the 1-2 woman roster was essentially predetermined before training camp ever started. The competition was theater. Pat and the other bubble players were brought in as practice bodies, not genuine candidates. That is a betrayal of every player who showed up believing they had a real shot. To fully illustrate how backwards this decision-making process actually is, it helps to look at a player who has survived in this league for a decade on almost the exact same theoretical profile as Justine Pat. Katie Lou Samuelson has been in the WNBA for 10 years. She is 6'3", has a reputation as a perimeter shooting specialist, and commands a salary approaching $500,000 based almost entirely on that reputation. Front offices keep writing her checks because the idea of a tall shooter is valuable enough to pay for even when the actual production does not fully justify it. Here is the part that should make every Fever fan furious. Katie Lou Samuelson has never shot above 35% from three in a single professional season, not once in a decade. The shooting reputation that earns her that salary is not fully supported by the actual shooting numbers on her professional resume. Justine Pat shot 42% from three in college. She is an inch taller. She is proving she can defend. She costs a fraction of what Samuelson commands on the open market. The comparison is not even close from a pure basketball and value standpoint. A rational front office looks at those two profiles side by side and immediately understands which direction to move. The experienced veteran label should not outweigh a full percentage points worth of shooting efficiency advantage on a player who is younger, taller, and cheaper. But in Indianapolis right now, it apparently does. Here is the uncomfortable truth this franchise needs to sit with. The Indiana Fever have the greatest offensive playmaker in the history of women's basketball. And instead of surrounding Caitlyn Clark with every possible weapon that maximizes what she does, they are actively discarding one of the most uniquely valuable players on their roster to protect front office ego and cover accounting mistakes. The moment Justine Pat gets cut, 5 franchises will be on the phone immediately. Portland, Seattle. Teams that understand floor spacing and modern basketball geometry will welcome her with open arms. And 6 weeks into the regular season, the Fever will be watching Clark drive into a packed paint, wondering how this happened. This is not just a roster move. It is a referendum on whether this front office is actually built to win. Based on everything happening right now, the answer is not encouraging. Stay locked with my channel, Simply Explained, for more WNBA updates.